is one of my best friends over the years. A young man that I've known since back age 5, age 6,
Yes, sir.
going to camp pitch at Allegheny East camp meeting, playing cabin court basketball, playing in the sand lot, playing baseball. Went to Pine Forge with this guy. This is one of my crew since really day one. This individual is the CEO of Greenback Entertainment, which is a firm that's heavily involved in wealth management, does a lot of work with the entertainment industry, very, very highly affiliated and acclaimed with some of the heavy hitter DJs, really involved in kind of planning and putting parties together, distribution networks, etc. So I want to introduce to my show Pat Green, one of my homies.
What's going on, sir?
What's up, man?
I'm good, man. I'm glad to be on here, man. Thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, no doubt, man. This is all Pine Forest Radio. I've had you on the show. I've had Jay Winston on the show. I've had Arthur Foster on the show. So it's just a lot of Chip is my co-host. We got a lot of Forge heads that on the show. Myron's gonna be on the show next week. So we really
all right, good. Wow, I feel privileged then. Okay, come on.
Yeah, so just kind of taking it back to the old school. So wanted to talk to you about your experiences, man. Just us being boys over the years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very familiar with your story. I'm very familiar with your family, and I know that you've been through a lot. You've survived a lot. You and I have prayed together. We've held each other down when we were going through stuff. So I really wanted to kind of set the backdrop so you could tell your story. But just kind of start us off. Tell my audience about your experience, just growing up in Allegheny East, going to Pine Forge, and really being involved in sport, being a really good basketball player, one of the better players at Pine Forge. I know you went down to Washington Adventist University. Kind of talk about those experiences.
Okay, well, as you were saying, man, my dad, of course, was a pastor. Me and you and I are both from PKs, man. So I went to Larchwood and Philadelphia. I had to go to Oakwood, that whole thing, Oakwood, Andrews, all those different schools, man. So it was an experience, man. Like I said, just just me and you talking, man. We just friends for life. So
no doubt.
I just always loved Pine Forge, of course. It was just a good experience, man. Just always keeping in touch with everybody, man. And I just know I always have anywhere in the country I got somewhere to lay my head at. And I just remember that experience, man. We had our own little camaraderie just being pastor's kids. So,
right.
It's like a little fraternity. So, I mean, I will never take that for granted, man, forever. And, right now, man, I just miss Pine Forge now. Just how we just sitting there talking about old times. The good and the bad. We got some crazy stories. Me sneaking in the girls' dorm and stuff like that. But getting into the cafeterias and but it was a good time, man. And we always kept God first with everything. So that was good, man. None of us really got into any trouble, and our parents really raised us well, man. So it kind of just brought, I know myself and you, it kind of brought us to this point. I think all those things like that were instilled at this early age to bring us to where we are right now. So, I just always looked at Pine Forge and my Christian education experience, man. It was just, it was good, man. It really shaped me to who I am now. And anytime I felt like I was going to go left, I could always look back at those things, So
tell us a little bit about your game. I went to Pine Forge with you. You were excellent. Just growing up with you, I remember when we were little kids and playing on the cabin court. And for those, you're not going to understand cabin court basketball unless you're from Allegheny East Conference. But in essence, Allegheny East has cabins where the pastors and individuals can stay in during camp meeting. All of the pastors' kids, we were maybe 7, 8 years old during camp pitch when our fathers would be out, put the tents up, and get everything cleaned up, ready for camp meeting. the cabins are built on a slab, so they don't have a basement. There's this like porch area in front of the cabin, and the roof extends to cover the porch area for shading reasons. And there are these little trestles on both sides of the roof that hold the roof up.
Right.
And there's a little bit of a space in between those trestles and the roof, so the young kids would actually play full court, and they would use that space in the trestles to like actually put a basketball through. And some of those games would be heated. I remember Myron Edmonds, Tim Prevett, Al Johnson, these boys. We'd be out there playing ball for hours and hours as 7 and 8 year olds on these little courts. And I remember you were the first person in our crew that could actually jump high enough to dunk the small basketball through the little court. So you were always you really had a lot of athletic skill at Pine Forge. You really had some skill. Tell us about your game, man. Don't be shy. Tell us about your J work and your handle and all that stuff.
Hey man, I remember the cabin court games, man. We had some wars over there, man. As kids, that was fun. But I remember before I went to Pine Forge, I went to because I was a 3-year Pine Forge student. But I remember my first year I went to Livingston High School, and I played up there for a little bit. I was like one of the top guys in the state at that time. And I remember, to this day, I don't know, it was a good decision because I got, be with all you guys at Pine Forest. But I remember I begged my dad, I don't want to be at this school anymore. I want to be around all my friends. And, I look at the couple guys, Tim Thomas, I don't even remember some of these names, Brevin Knight, played against those guys when I was, a freshman. They all went to the NBA. So I kind of, the decision was cool. I got to meet a lot of people with you guys, so that that was a good thing. But at Pine Forge, we had Handy Hall Classics. For anybody out there familiar with Pine Forge, we had the Handy Hall Classics. Our games. I remember our Dean Johnson used to videotape the games and slam dunks for us, the intro.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that was fun, man. He made us feel like we were at a regular, public school per se. So, my game was pretty good. Don't let Jay downplay his thing either. He had a nice game too, man. We all had nice games back then. We used to play basketball every day almost. So we had to be good in some type of way. But yeah, man, sports that was the main thing, man. Because our dads and stuff always, they either traveling and things like that. So, when we were younger, man, that was like our main thing. Jay, how that was, man. So
definitely.
That's how it was, man.
So that's a good trip down memory lane, just kind of talking about playing sports and being a part of Pine Forge and having that experience, really getting a chance to not only have the great wars between the little crews at Pine Forge, but to go out and play TA and go out and play Oakwood Academy and some of the other big flagship Adventist schools. You mentioned your father and my father, us both being PKs, has really been instrumental in the way that we grew up. That's how you and I became boys. Kind of talk about your father, with Father's Day just being a few days ago. I want to give you a chance to really to tribute, for those that don't know, Pat's father passed away several years ago. He was a great man, and I'm not just saying this because Pat is my boy, but just someone that I remember watching as a real little kid. Someone that really walked upright, that was a man of God, but someone that was a principal. You knew that he was not somebody to be messed with, but he always treated everybody around him with love and respect. And I was able to pick that up about your father at like age 7, 8, and 9. So kind of tribute to your father, man. Tell us about your father, how great of a man he was, and how he influenced you.
Yeah, it's funny, man. So we were sitting there talking about old things. I can just remember us at camp meeting. My dad walked around with the construction hat. We were all working with the grass truck and things like that. And
the big gloves. That was your father. And the diesel, gloves. And you could see the guns under the white tee. You could tell that he was ripped and yoked up, and not to be messed with.
It was some good times, man. It's just coming up in the house, man, watching my dad. It was just, it was just amazing, man, because I know Jay, you probably get the same pressure of, oh yeah, our dads were good speakers. Are you gonna be a pastor? You're gonna be a pastor.
Mm-hmm.
And I just know in my house, my dad was he was like, man, I'm not pressuring to do anything like that. That's something God called me to. And like you were saying, just how like Father's Day had just passed, and actually my dad's birthday was right before Father's Day. And nowadays it gets a little somber moment because he's not here. Because my dad, I'm pretty sure a lot of people say it, but my dad was actually really my best friend, like literally my best friend. So he was my dad, but he was really we was that tight. So I'm gonna share this one thing because I always wanted to say it. I remember when my dad actually passed away on my birthday. So it was something my dad used to always preach about when always talked about me being born, because I was going to be premature actually. And he told me in the hospital, he got on his knees and said, God, will you please let my son be born today? I preach to the day I die. And it was just weird. Not weird. I was looking at it weird back, at the time, but I saw how God worked, where he actually passed away on that day. Like the day I was born, he passed away. And he made that promise to God. I mean, literally all the way till he passed away. So it was just, I just saw how God was really in his life, because my dad could have died on the 5th. He could have died on September 7th, but he chose him. Mm-hmm. My dad made that promise. So, it gets tough sometimes, man, but it really made me more of a man, my dad passed away, and I just try to take everything he's taught me, everything he instilled in me, and all the attributes, and just, it keeps going, man, just basically keeping God first and everything, man, no matter what I'm doing, no matter the situation I'm in. And, Jay, you experienced some things too, how, as we became adults, man, and I kind of used that as a catalyst to get through, to be honest with you.
Definitely.
So, yep.
It's certainly not a game out here when it comes to all of that stuff. And, your father, my father, just different gentlemen, Ron Edmonds, Ronnie Vanderhorst. These are all people that were like men that we looked up to growing up.
That's right.
As pastors, but not just as pastors, but they were just real men. Like they took care of business. Right. And that instills a lot in you as a 7-8-year-old. You're up there with your dad. You're watching your dad pitch tents and get stuff ready for camp meeting. But to be around not only our fathers who we idolized, but other male role models who are just as cool as our own fathers, like that was just an awesome environment. I used to look forward to going to camp meeting and camp pitch, not just because I'd be able to see you guys, but just so I could be around, y'all's fathers and really just around that male bonding environment. That was an awesome environment to be around. So really instrumental in my development and yours. We're going to take a break and come back with more of the Lance J Radio Show. Pat's going to talk a little bit more about his personal triumph over many things that Satan tried to put in his way, obstacles to hurt him, and how he was able to beat those things, and just how his life has changed and how he's continued to dedicate himself, his body, his mind to Christ. So we'll be back in a few seconds.
All right, are you having a good time so far? We want some noise in here this evening. And close the doors because we're going to party in here all night tonight.
You are listening to the Lance J Radio Show on Advent Sports Network.
We are back on the Lance J Radio Show. I'm talking with Patrick Green, one of my best friends since age 5. He's been kind of had a very, very heartfelt tribute to his father. Talked about growing up as a pastor's kid in Allegheny East Conference, his experience with being involved, playing at Pine Forge, playing in the Philadelphia area, going up against some serious athletes on the high school level. Pat, kind of tell us about, and when I wanted to have you on the show, you and I, the bond of Pine Forge, like when you grow up with someone, we've gone through stretches where you were dealing with something and I was dealing with something, and I maybe didn't talk to you for 3 or 4 years, but it's like we've always been family. So as soon as I've ever heard like something was going down with you, I'm going to immediately get on the phone and be like, yo, Pat, what's up? And vice versa. If you hear that something's going down with me, you're going to immediately hit me up on Facebook or Instagram or find my number and be like, yo, Jay, what's up? Like, what's going on with your family? So you went through something. I'm going to let you tell your story and get out the way. But you went through a health crisis, and I kind of want you to tell it. It was adjacent to when your father his health was deteriorating, and he was getting sick and passing away, and then you went through your own health crisis. Kind of tell my audience about that experience.
Yeah, it was, I remember, like I said, my dad had passed away around 2010, and, September 2010. And it was, that was traumatizing in itself. So, I got back into the church, man, got rebaptized, and, I'm going to get my life together. And I remember October 2012, I actually was in Brooklyn at a game, and a friend of mine, we took a picture, and we are going to post it to Facebook, and when he took the picture and had it in his phone, he said, Pat, man, you look like you lost a lot of weight. And, I looked at him like, man, whatever. And I actually went to the hospital that October, and they just told me I think I had an ulcer or something like that. So we didn't pay it any mind. And I remember I just started working in New York City, man, and that December I was at work, and my stomach had a pain that I can't even explain to you. And I went to the hospital, man, and they ran some tests. They gave me an endoscopy, colonoscopy. I was in there for about a week. And come to find out, the doctor comes in. He's like, Patrick, you have polyps. So, I'm saying, okay, whatever that is, let's get those out the way so I can go home. And he said, no, it's not that simple. You have colon cancer. So when, you hear cancer, you're just saying, that's it. And that's the first thing I thought. I said, man, my dad just passed away. I actually just had a friend of mine right before my dad passed away. He was killed. So I was sitting there saying, wow, okay, this must be, this is just my time, And I remember just laying in the bed.
And we also, to interject, we had a friend who was near and dear to both of us, LP, Larry Perry, that we went to Pine Forge with, that passed away from cancer as well. So, that was one of the worst things I've ever seen personally, having to deal with somebody that I love and watch them fight that fight. So,
both of us are actually. I remember both of us actually were there.
We're there
in the hospital, and I saw that, and I mean I would be lying to you, man, if I didn't. That's one of the images that came in my mind. When I first found out, and just to get up out the bed and look in the mirror, and I'm like half of my size, and I ended up getting the surgery. And, I stayed there another week. They're telling you, it could have spread. You just never know what can happen. And, thank God for all the prayers, Jay praying, everybody I knew. The doctor came back in and said, your lymph nodes came back negative. And it was cancer-free, man. I mean, I don't know. It had to be. It's just been God. I think I know people that have had colon cancer and different cancers, and they had to go to chemotherapy. They had to get radiation. I didn't have to get any of that. And I just remember after I was able to, conquer that, I just said, man, I have a testimony now. I said, and I have to go around and let people know how God got me over and he blessed me. I said, how can I just sit back and just hold that in? So every time I get a chance, I probably done told Jay the story about 100 times, but, it's just, I mean, every day I really look forward to every day. And, you hear people say, I promise tomorrow. Like, I really, really believe that now. Like, people, they try to get through their week. Oh, man, Monday's a bad day. Monday is my Friday. I'm happy every day because I don't have to be here, So, I mean, God I mean, I can't say enough. Like, God blessed me so much, man. And really, that when that happened to me, and I was able to beat that, that really helped me with my my dad's passing away as well. Because, but before that, I was just trying to, we were raised in church, but it was more or less, I'm gonna go to church, and it was kind of like masking it. And I think God was saying, look, I need you to have a relationship with me, because I could go to church every week and I had that relationship.
Right.
So, and I think, he kind of used that, and I mean, it got me through, the passing of my dad, and now I'm able to talk about it, and I can celebrate my dad and just talk about the good times and laugh and talk. And when I tell people about I beat colon cancer, man, they're like, really? You really did it? And, I mean, so now I hear about anyone being sick, and they're saying, oh, they're about to die. And I said, no, don't ever give up like that.
Definitely.
Jay, you went through something, similar. Doctors telling you, oh, yeah, man, that's it. And, man, look at us now. Me and you, right. we on your radio show right now talking.
Right. Right.
We supposed to be here. So, I mean, that's my testimony, man. And, anytime if somebody, I don't care what you're going through, is a sickness or you lose somebody, man, you could just look at me and say, listen, if that guy can make it, I know I can make it. And that's how I always try to tell people, man, don't ever give up. Like, God doesn't give up on you, so don't ever give up on him,
And that's really, it's such a great testimony, and it's really kind of outlines the concept of not just, because most of the people that come on my show are SDAs, but just Christianity and having a relationship with Christ. Mm-hmm. The ability to inspire one another, the ability to galvanize and encourage and just be there to support. For those listening, Pat and I went through, because I was very sick right around the same time that you were sick. We were both really, really sick, facing a situation that could have ended our lives. I had a doctor tell me that I'd never walk again without a walker or some type of assistance, and I'd probably end up in a nursing home by 35, and if I lived at all. And you said, it's just God said that it just wasn't our time. Like, he had more things for us to do on this earth. So he stepped in and he said, I don't care what the doctors say. I don't care what your friends and family may think. I still have work for Patrick Green, for James Lewis to do. And he steps in, we're healthy, and we're sitting here chopping it up years later.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, people who were healthy then, they're dealing with a struggle now. So it's really amazing how the cycle goes. I know that both you and I reached a point where we were, very close to giving up, tired of it. And that's where you and I have encouraged each other, because when you see what someone's going through,
I remember when I sent you a Facebook inbox, and I just said, man, this is even after the cancer, when I was just trying to get everything together, and, jobs and money was crazy. And I remember I was like, Jay, man, I just can't do it. I was like, maybe, I don't think you remember quote by quote, but I remember I just said, man, maybe the cancer, I wish it at that time, I wish it could have took me out. I was just really that low. And I remember that encouraging word, just said, Pat, man, look, you already did it already, man. You done got through the hard part.
Right.
So, I'm just telling you that now. Even when we on air, I probably told you before, but man, I really appreciate that, because that word that you gave me, just coming from a friend, that helped me out. You know what I mean? We more like brothers. You know how we all are.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
So when you told me, man, like, look, you don't went through the hard thing and you can do it. I mean, that pushed me. It was just saying, Pat, you know what? Is it really that bad? Is it really that bad? And I just want to tell you again, man, on air, man, I really appreciate that, man. Really, it really got me through. So, really, and
I'm glad that the Lord can use me to help. And I've been there. I've written in my book about my experience. I sat in my yard at my house in Cincinnati, Ohio. I sat in my yard in the cold and begged God to take my life. Like, I was in so much pain and so sick.
Right.
I said, God, I'd rather die than live like this. So, I mean, we all get that struggle, but that's when the adversary, you know, if you stay stagnant, you allow the adversary to get in your mind and keep telling you that you're not going to make it. It's not worth it. And that's why Christ came. I mean, that's why we have Christianity. That's why we have, you know, opportunities to congregate with one another just for that purpose to encourage. So I was just glad to be a part and be able to support you. And then I see you balling out and doing big things. I might need to get up with you to get some love down the road. I do want you to tell the individuals listening about your health regimen. I know that you made some major changes in the way that you eat and the way that you take care of your body after your health care. And I'd like you to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, man. I, you know, as you know, we all kind of grew up with the grillers and all that type stuff, man. And, you know, some of that stuff is good. It's okay. But I know now, man, like I've ever since I came on, I was always in the morning, I drink a spinach, kale, and banana smoothie, like every morning now. And basically vegan. I won't lie to you. Sometimes I like cheese sometimes, so I'll put that in there. But for the majority, most of the part, man, I'm very, very health conscious, man. Because even me being at the, you know, when I go to the doctor to still get checkups, man, they say, oh, Patrick, you know, you can go ahead and you can eat the chicken. And I'm not, nothing against none of the people out there that eat the chicken. I'm just saying for me, you know, that's just something I decided not to do. So my doctor's saying, it's okay. I got faith in God that I know I'll never get cancer again, but you got to be prevented. You know, you still got to have, you know, be smart about things too. So, I mean, I'm very, very health conscious. I do a big gallon of water every day. I mean, it just changed. It changed my whole lifestyle. And, you know, sometimes, you know, God has things, he allows things to happen. Because I tell people, you know how we were raised, Jay, God doesn't put anything. I think God allows things to happen. God doesn't want to hurt you. So he allows stuff to happen, you know. He loves us.
So, he wants us to be saved.
Exactly.
He's willing to put you through that trial to allow that trial to happen if it's going to help you to be saved.
Exactly. So yeah, my health, man, I'm pretty health conscious now, so I really don't eat too much, no more cheesesteaks and stuff like that anymore, man. I eat my chopped up griller cheesesteak, something like that.
Okay.
But it's pretty healthy, man. Keep that cancer away.
That's good stuff. Tell us about your business pictures, man. Tell us about Greenback Entertainment, some of the stuff y'all are doing. Any shout outs you want to give? Any Twitter handles? Any programs that you have going on up in the New York, New Jersey area that you want to talk about?
You can follow us on Twitter at Greenbacks Inc. That's what GreenBaxxinc. You know, shout out to DJ Cam. You know, with Cam, you know, we usually do a lot of corporate events and everything now. We've in the past we've dealt with Rockaware. Right now we're still dealing with Adidas. We do a lot of their launch when they have their launch events. You know, he does a lot of their events. We do things with we've done stuff with the Philadelphia 76ers. Whole lot of different things I do with the DJ. Besides him, right now I'm actually working on trying to get with some of the athletes just to handle their business management. You know, I'm trying to work with some guys overseas right now. Hopefully in the future we'll be able to deal with some other pros, you know, here in the States, you know, NBA, things of that nature. You know, that'll come. So hopefully that'll happen soon. So we're just trying to educate these guys, you know, artists, athletes on just managing their money. It's so easy. You see a lot of different stories of these guys, you know, going broke and doing the wrong investments. So, you know, my thing is I just want to be there, you know, all the way down to them paying their bills. You want to make sure they have their things day to day. Don't put them on a budget for the month. You know, just really.
I just read something about Tim Duncan yesterday.
Yeah, $20 million.
They got him for $20 million, man.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
Man. Yeah, unbelievable. So you know that I really just want to just be a service. You know, that's what I really want to do. I just want to. A lot of these guys, they're achieving their dreams, man, and they get there and they spend it all. You know, we all want to take care of our families and things of that nature. You know, we all do. But I want to, especially our African American guys, Christian brothers, man. We got a lot of Christian brothers out there, that are really trying to do their thing, man. So I want, if I could be of an assistance to get them where they want to go, man. We here. So check out the website too. It's www.greenbacksmanagement.com, and check it out, man, for sure.
So we definitely want people listening to check out Greenbacks Entertainment. Check out the website. When we post this on my website, we'll definitely put a link so people can go check your website out. We really appreciate you coming on the show, Pat. It's a great testimony, and just bringing the energy that you always bring. Always have some good jokes, some laughs, some good stories. Before we get off the phone, man, I'm going to tell one final story for my listeners. This cat, Pat Green, Pat and I got to Pine Forge. We were sophomores at Pine Forge. We didn't go there our freshman year. Like Pat said, he went to school in the Philadelphia area and played ball. I went to a prep school in Columbus, Ohio, where I grew up, on some academic path that I was on at the time.
Right.
So Pat and I get to Pine Forge sophomore year. It's the first day of school. I see Pat, he sees me. We're like, yo, what's up, fam? So we're pretty much clicking up. Like, if you saw Pat, you saw me. Like, we was always together that first semester. First day of school, we find Steve Boyce, who's also one of our boys from Allegheny East, and Joel Boyce, that we all grew up together as pastors' kids. Steve Boyce used to cut hair.
Yeah.
And he was one of the best barbers. Him along with Myron Evans is going to be on my show next week. They were the best barbers at Pine Forge at the time. So, of course, it's the first day of school. This is before I started losing my hair, obviously. Pat and I are like, yo, we got to get a fresh cut. We want to look good. We're going to meet all these girls. We got to get trimmed up. We got to get that edge. We got to get that fade. We got to get it taken care of.
Yes, sir.
Someone is sitting in the chair, and I'm not gonna name names. But there's an upperclassman that's sitting in the chair before us.
Yeah.
Pat and I are just waiting to get our hair cut. And there's an upperclassman that's sitting in the chair. We're just minding our business, trying to get a cut. Right. He's basically telling us that you're a bunch of sophomores, you're underclassmen, you don't deserve to get a haircut. You're nobody. Y'all are just a bunch of punk sophomores. Me and Pat look at each other like, what's this guy talking about? Like, we're just here to get our haircut. Like, we just try to look fresh for orientation. Like, we're not really bothering you. You in the chair getting your haircut.
Right.
So this conversation continues to escalate and escalate. And I remember on the first day of school, Pat and I are in my boy Steve's room fighting over getting a seat to get a haircut. And that was our first day at Pine Forge. It was my first experience at Pine Forge, is getting into a fight in Steve's room while waiting to get a haircut. And that's pretty much how Pat and my relationship's been. Like, we've always been boys. We've always rooted for each other. If something was going down, we were there to step in. And that's just how it's always been. But I always think about that story.
We had to give a G-rated version of that.
Yeah, that's the G-rated version. I can't use the language that I used that day. I don't even think that they would let me have a Christian sports talk show if they had a clip of the language that I used during that conversation. I would have been disfellowship. I would have had to get baptized. All types of stuff. But
that was our former life. That was our former life.
Former life, man. Before Christ. Thanks for the blood of the Lamb. I'm able to be saved and to move forward.
You are listening to the Lance J Radio Show on Advent Sports Network.